Report: China ranks first in transnational repression. Chained women case closed after sentences handed down, but human trafficking still open. Guangzhou University urgently upgrades a toilet due to Macron's visit. China's weakness exposed. India seizes business opportunities in the $600 billion space industry. Do not push China on Russia, Chinese ambassador.
A news report released by Freedom House, a Washington-based democracy research organization, shows that China is the country most actively pursuing its citizens abroad, especially those who speak out against the Chinese Communist Party. 30% of transnational crackdowns originate in China. The report, released on April 6, is titled Still Not Safe: Transnational Repression in 2022. The report cited 854 direct, tangible incidents of transnational repression committed by 38 governments in 91 nations worldwide since 2014. The incident of transnational repression has different forms, including assassinations, abductions, detentions, assaults, and unlawful deportations. The report said more governments are committing more acts of transnational repression around the world, turning to violence and other brutal tactics to silence dissent beyond their borders. China, in particular, has used its economic and diplomatic power to pressure other countries to deport or extradite Chinese citizens who have fled the country, including those seeking asylum. The CCP is also accused of cyber attacks and other digital threats against activists and dissidents outside China. Michael J. Abramowitz, president of Freedom House, said despite growing awareness of the problem, more authoritarian governments are attempting to exert control over diaspora and exile communities. He added, this latest research shows that the threat posed by transnational repression is not going away and that democratic societies must work harder to protect themselves and their fundamental values. Freedom House is a U.S.-based non-governmental organization founded in 1941 that works to promote democracy and human rights around the world. In addition, it researches issues related to political freedom and civil liberties. Sentencing has been handed down in a public trial for 6 people concerning last year's shocking chained woman incident in China. Caixin China on April 7th reported the Suzhou Intermediate People's Court in Jiangsu Province sentenced Dong Jimin to 9 years for the torture and illegal imprisonment of the woman, and 5 others with terms ranging from 8 to 13 years for kidnapping, selling, and imprisoning her. All 14 officials involved in the cover-up of the case, including the party secretary and mayor of Feng Town, were expelled from the party and dismissed from their positions. In January last year, a video was posted on the internet in which a woman believed to be from Fengxiang County, Suzhou, Jiangsu Province is chained to a room that has no window and no water. According to NPR, the video quickly went viral on the internet, garnering nearly 2 billion views as of last February. The woman, known as Xiao Huamei, Little Blossom in court records, is said to have been kidnapped for the first time in 1998 from Yunnan Province and sold several times. The woman gave birth to 8 children by her last captor. The case has left many people stunned by human trafficking in China. Mainland public opinion also boiled over. Although the Chinese authorities heavily censored the incident at the time, it still gained prominence and put the Beijing Winter Olympics in the background. The phrase chained woman has also become popular on Weibo. According to a statement from the Suzhou court, from July 2017 to before the case was fined, Dong Jimin tied Xiao Huamei with a cloth rope, chained her by the neck, and performed many other abusive acts. Xiao Huamei is confirmed to have schizophrenia. According to DW China, many netizens expressed their displeasure after the court's ruling. Many on Sina Weibo complained the sentence was not enough. After 20 years of abuse, only 9 years in prison? Such a low cost of crime will only feel the wicked. Netizen Basic Common Sense posted that the Xiao Huamei case is the first piece of the justice puzzle. Complete justice still requires continuous questioning. Was there any result from the vigorous centralized anti-kidnapping and inventory operation in Jiangsu province last year? According to Xinhua News Agency, Xiao Huamei is still being treated in the hospital and is in a stable condition, but she still has cognitive impairment. Xiao Huamei's children are still minors. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Beijing on the afternoon of April 5th, officially starting a 3-day visit to China. He said China plays an important role in finding a path to peace in Ukraine. And the fact that a university in Guangzhou upgraded its toilets because foreigners visited it became a controversial topic. According to CCTV, at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping, President Macron paid a state visit to China from April 5th to 7th. Accompanying Macron was a government delegation including several senior French government officials, over 60 French businessmen, and 20 cultural figures. After Macron flew to Beijing, he was received by Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang. He then visited the residence of the French ambassador to China. Macron said if the Chinese Communist Party supplied weapons to Russia during the Russia-Ukraine war, it would violate international law, and prolonging the war would not benefit Beijing. Macron's visit was not only to Beijing. According to Reuters, Xi Jinping took Macron to Guangzhou, where the first French ships reached the Chinese coast on the 17th century and where France opened its first consulate. Wang Huiyao, head of the Beijing-based Center for China and Globalization, said, "We believe this has great symbolic significance, showing France is ready to start cooperating with China again." Later, students from Guangzhou University in Guangzhou announced that Macron gave a speech at their school on April 7th. The gymnasium where he delivered his speech was a colorful sight with welcoming flower baskets. Some students also discovered the previous squat toilet in the gymnasium had been replaced with a new sitting toilet. According to a conversation among the students, some asked, was the squat toilet upgraded because foreigners are not used to them? Regarding this, Vision Times cited some Chinese netizens mocking, repairing the road for Ma Ying-zhou, repairing the toilet for Macron. Formalism. Foreign forces are promoting the development of the Qing dynasty, referring to China. Global manufacturers are scrambling for space business opportunities. From 2020 to 2025, the industry's annual turnover is expected to grow from $447 billion to $600 billion. India intends to capitalize on the isolation of China and Russia to gain market share and position itself as an alternative to SpaceX in the U.S. According to China Times, Dallas Kalabowski, chief analyst at Northern Sky Research, an aerospace research and consulting firm, believes if SpaceX has too many customers, its work is too busy, or its cost is too expensive, customers will have to look elsewhere. But they won't find China. Customers are mainly from the U.S. and they cannot cooperate with China, so India is a much better choice. The report mentions better options than Chinese-made satellites for global satellite operators. India is drawing closer to major leading powers like the US, Japan, and Australia because these countries' political and economic relations are friendlier and their launch costs are lower than those of other competitors. Neil Masterson, CEO of OneWeb, the world's second-largest low-orbit satellite operator, said, "New Space has an excellent opportunity to become a major aerospace supplier. New Space India Limited, a commercial arm of the Indian Space Research Organization, successfully assisted OneWeb in sending 36 satellites into orbit last week." Regarding current market share, India still has a long way to go, and there is plenty of room for growth. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies data, China has 13.6% of orbiting satellites worldwide, while India only has 2.3%.
A Chinese envoy has taken exception to hopes that the West may talk China into influencing its Russian counterpart to follow the world's will. China's ambassador to Russia, Zhang Hanwei, on April 7th, told the Russian daily Izvestia, "The West is not in a position to give instructions to China, and even more so does not have the authority to throw responsibility onto it." The surly comment came as French President Emmanuel Macron and the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, hoped to convince China to act as a mediator in the Ukraine war. Both paid Chinese President Xi Jinping a visit on April 6th. According to Politico, Macron told Xi he counted on him to bring Russia back to reason. Leyen, on the other hand, was more direct as she said, "Arming the aggressor is a clear violation of international law. He should never be armed." Ambassador Zhang reiterated that Beijing did not create the Ukraine crisis and denied that it would supply arms to either side of the conflict, a slight reference to reports that China has been assisting its Russian comrade in its weaponry. Politico in March divulged that Russia entities had received 1,000 assault rifles, body armor, and drone segments from Chinese companies, some of which were traced to the Chinese Communist Party. According to the publication, efforts from both Western leaders have failed to budge the Chinese side. President Xi responded by indicating an openness for more peace talks, but abstained from only pledging to take a more provocative part in persuading Moscow. He said peace talks should be resumed as soon as possible, taking into account the reasonable security concerns of all sides with reference to the UN Charter. She also stated, China and France hereby urge the international community to remain restrained and rational and avoid any steps that might escalate the crisis or even let it get out of control.